Welcome to Farm Here Daily, a Field Forward podcast. I'm your host, David Geiger. Today on Farm Here Daily, there was a trade mission to the #1 U.S. corn buyer, Mexico. We go over some of the impacts that has for corn farmers here in the Midwest. Please be sure to like and follow the podcast as well as our social media at Field Forward Pod. We would love to have you join our community to keep folks informed about what is affecting our farmers. This is Farm Here Daily. And joining us today is Bradley Schad. He is the CEO of the Missouri Corn Growers Association and the Missouri Corn Merchandising Council. Bradley was with a U.S. Grains and Bioproducts Council trade mission to Mexico City. And over there, a delegation of corn executives met with key officials to talk about the value of U.S. corn and ethanol. Bradley, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us about that trade mission. What was going on there, and who did you meet with?
Well, it was a great trade mission. We had the opportunity to meet, first off, with industry stakeholders that buy our corn. So everybody from the livestock industry to sugar and ethanol producers, the rail industry as well, just to kind of get a lay of the land from where they stand. And, you know, it was a long day. We had lots of meetings scheduled and set up throughout the day. And then started the next day, first thing in the morning, with government officials and talking to them about the importance that we feel of corn, and we were welcomed with open arms. You know, they saw the benefit of trade just like we do. Mexico is our #1 trading partner, and just building those relationships so we can continue selling more and more corn to them. They continue to increase their purchases of corn. But we have some other opportunities through ethanol and distillers grains as well that will benefit them. And so we want to do everything we can to increase that trade. And so building those relationships are important. And we got to meet with the Secretary of Agriculture, the Secretary of Economia, as well as the Deputy Secretary of Energy. And so talking about the opportunity to increase ethanol. And while we were down there, President Sheinbaum of Mexico said by the end of the year that they're going to be looking to increase their ethanol blend rate in a briefing that they had. And so we're looking forward to that strategy that they're going to be working on, and supposed to come out by the end of the year. So exciting news while we were down there working on behalf of the corn farmers.
As you mentioned, Mexico is a top buyer of U.S. corn. Why is it then so important for you and the farmers you represent in Missouri to continue to work on this relationship and develop more opportunities?
You know, it's that human interaction, having those face-to-face meetings. They understand more of what is going on in the U.S. And we understand what's going on in Mexico, to where we can go and make adjustments and work on our ability to provide what they need. You know, whether that be, you know, better quality, whether that be just more of it. Some of the issues that we've had on rail, as I mentioned, we met with the rail industry across the board, 3 different companies that ship corn down there, and they have some issues, and so we were able to bring those up with the officials to try and break down those barriers, those non-tariff trade barriers that are keeping more corn from being used. And if they're not hearing from us, they're hearing from other countries that are trying to break us apart and come in there and take our markets. So we don't want that to happen. And so building that relationship, making sure that they care about us and we care about them, and showing the benefit of that.
Our proximity to Mexico is certainly a huge advantage when it comes to trading with them. But at the same time, as you mentioned, it's important not to be complacent about that relationship. So what were some questions or concerns that the officials over there in Mexico had for you about the U.S.?
Yeah, again, it goes back to those non-tariff trade barriers. You know, whenever right now they've got an issue going on with the screwworm. You know, we put some barriers up to protect our cattle farmers, which are very important. But as we move forward, you know, they want to be able to sell their beef, their live cattle to our stockyards. You know, we have the ability to process the meat. Right now, they don't, and so they're being constrained. Their farmers are being constrained, and if they don't have a market for it, then they're not going to be able to process it and get it here to us. So we've got to do everything we can and our government is working on that to try and help with the New World screwworm. So there was an issue that they had with tomatoes. I don't want to get too involved in that because mainly we worked on corn, but they talked about their non-tariff trade barriers just as we did. They've got a 5.8% cap on ethanol, and then a 0% cap in the three major cities, and that's where we sell a lot of ethanol, or need to sell a lot of ethanol to, because that's where the fuel is being consumed. And so they've got to break those down. We've been going on now over 6 years. Before the previous president AMLO came in, we had broke that barrier and went to E10. But they actually got a ruling out of their Supreme Court saying that it wasn't possible, and so it took it down to 5.8. We argued on that down there, but didn't win. But being so it wasn't a legislative strategy, they said that they couldn't do that. New president's in. She's working on a strategy, and we're very excited to help with input on that. They were open to having the discussions as well as asked for information from us so that we can have input on those regulation changes. So we were very blessed to be down there when we were. President Sheinbaum has made it clear to all her cabinet staff how important biofuels are to her time being as the president, and it seemed pretty obvious that they're going to move forward with a strategy that could help increase our ethanol exports to Mexico.
As you return home, what is some of the payoff of a trade mission like this, making sure that the voices of the folks you're selling to are heard, but also making sure the export of corn continues and thrives?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, our number one trading partner, we can't take that for granted. We want to see more exports. They want to see more exports to the United States. And that's what building relationships does is, how can we help you to help our country as well? We buy a lot of their products, but we want to increase our demand down there as well. And we just had great conversations to work toward that end. Everything takes time, but as we've seen with this new outlook that President Sheinbaum is putting forward, that we can increase our ethanol demand. That was shut off previously, and those non-tariff trade barriers being removed. So we're able to bring back some of that information to key people back here at home, let them know how those went. We were also able to meet with the embassy while we were down there, explain to them what was brought forward to them. But having that opportunity to meet with their top officials, I mean, it was truly the cabinet secretaries that were there that spent hours upon hours with us talking about the importance of trade between our two countries, and what investments that we can provide to Mexico and same back here. So it's just keeping that communication line open to where they understand where we're at and where we can work with them to increase our exports down there.
Bradley Schad is the CEO of the Missouri Corn Growers Association, as well as the Missouri Corn Merchandising Council. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
This is Farm Here Daily, and now we'll take a look at the Tuesday market close. There was a mixed trading session at the close for Tuesday. December corn up 2 1/4, $4.13, with March rising 2 cents, $4.29 1/4. May an increase of a penny and a half at $4.38. Soybeans in November, though, a penny and a quarter down at $10.06 1/2. January falling a cent at $10.24 1/4, with March beans half a penny weaker, $10.39 1/2. Soybean meal in December, 20 cents a ton in the green, $274.30, while January was down 10 cents a ton at $278.20. Soybean oil in December mostly unchanged at 50.5 cents weaker a pound, while December wheat 3.5 cents up at $5.25. March wheat 3.5 cents more as well, $5.16 3/4, with May 3 cents up, $5.28 1/4. Hard red winter wheat in December 7.25 up at 488.5, with March 6.75 stronger at 509.25. Looking into the livestock market close for Tuesday, and it was a bit mixed there as well. October live cattle $1.25 a hundredweight higher at $241.82. December rising $1.75 at $246.50. February live cattle $1.32 more at $248.52. Feeder cattle in October $4.67 a hundredweight higher at $380.17. November rising $4.60 at $381.32. January, an increase of $4.32 at $378.05. Lean hogs in December, $1.70 a hundredweight weaker at $83.15, with February falling $1.52 at $85.45. April, lean hogs, $1.25 down at $89.05 a hundredweight. That is the Tuesday market close. This is Farm Year Daily. And this is Farm Year Daily, a Field Forward podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Again, in order to continue to produce this type of local content, we would love to have you join our community, so please follow the podcast as well as our social media channels at Field Forward Pod. You can also find me on social media at Geiger Reports. Again, I am your host, David Geiger, and I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody.